Hi, I'm Alex Newman with the New American Magazine, and today I want to talk to you about the founders of ISIS. In the presidential election, you had Trump and Hillary battling it out, and then Trump came out of nowhere and he said that Hillary Clinton and Obama are the founders of ISIS, right? And actually, he didn't really come out of nowhere. He's been kind of hinting at this for some time now, for some months actually. I think it started first after the allegedly homosexual jihadists in Orlando shot up the nightclub there. But he has been dropping these hints. Of course, the media pounced on him and said, oh, that's ridiculous, he's crazy, typical Trump over-the-top stuff. But how much truth is there to the claim that Obama and Hillary are the founders of ISIS? Well, obviously Obama didn't go over there and put a turban on and grow a beard and say, okay guys, let's make an ISIS, right? But it is an undeniable fact at this point. We have smoking gun evidence that the Obama administration, including Hillary Clinton, who was serving as Secretary of State at the time, played a crucial role in creating ISIS. Actually, Obama's anti-ISIS coalition, and they shouldn't really call it an anti-ISIS coalition, but Obama's anti-ISIS coalition created ISIS. And you don't have to take my word for it. You could take a look at what Joe Biden said in a speech at Harvard. He said Obama's anti-ISIS coalition was responsible for arming and for training and for funding ISIS. These are his words, not mine. They poured tons of weapons onto these al-Qaeda jihadists who eventually became ISIS. That's Joe Biden telling you, Obama's deputy, his second in command.
What my constant cry was that our biggest problem is our allies. Our allies in the region were our largest problem in Syria. The Turks were great friends, and I have a great relationship with Erdogan, which I've just spent a lot of time with. The Saudis, the Emiratis, etc. What were they doing? They were so determined to take down Assad and essentially have a proxy Sunni-Shia war. What did they do? They poured hundreds of millions of dollars and thousands of tons of weapons into anyone who would fight against Assad, except that the people who were being supplied were al-Nusra and al-Qaeda and the extremist elements of jihadis coming from other parts of the world. Now you think I'm exaggerating? Take a look. Where did all of this go? So now what's happening? All of a sudden, everybody's awakened because this outfit called ISIL, which was al-Qaeda in Iraq, which when they were essentially thrown out of Iraq, found open space and territory in eastern Syria, worked with al-Nusra, who we declared a terrorist group early on, and we could not convince our colleagues to stop supplying them.
We also had, at the time, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Martin Dempsey. He was asked by Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina in a Senate hearing, under oath, mind you, so he had to tell the truth.
So do you know any major Arab ally that embraces ISIL?
I know major Arab allies who fund them.
There you have it, straight from the horse's mouth. More recently, after those revelations, we had last year, the New American, in 2015, the New American was one of the first media outlets to report on this. Thanks to Judicial Watch, a watchdog group, they sued the Obama administration under Freedom of Information Act, and they got out some documents. And one of the documents was a Defense Intelligence Agency report. We know this went to Hillary Clinton. We know this was seen by top administration officials, including General Michael Flynn, who was in charge of the Defense Intelligence Agency at that time. And this document says, among other things, that al-Qaeda and the Muslim Brotherhood are the major forces driving the insurgency in Syria. So they've known all along that al-Qaeda and the Muslim Brotherhood were driving this insurgency. They say in the same document that the West, so the Obama administration, the Europeans, they said the Gulf countries, they mean Saudi Arabia, the regimes in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and Turkey, the Turkish government, have been supporting this opposition, which again they acknowledged was being led by al-Qaeda and the Muslim Brotherhood. Then they say that there is the possibility of creating a Salafist principality. Now Salafism is basically this super hardcore Islam that the regime in Saudi Arabia pretends to adhere to. And this is the kind of head-chopping, apostate-killing, homosexual throwing off a building type of Islam. So they said the Salafist principality in eastern Syria, and then they said this is exactly what the powers supporting the opposition would like to see in eastern Syria. So what does this mean? It means that they had a specific goal of creating an Islamic state, an Islamic principality in eastern Syria. Today that principality exists. It's called the Caliphate, the Islamic State, the ISIS, whatever you want to call it. And it's led by a bunch of savages who think it's reasonable to crucify Christians and chop off the heads of people who they don't like and enslave as sex slaves women and children. And you can thank the Obama administration for this. We have smoking gun evidence that this was a deliberate policy. They wanted an Islamic State in eastern Syria. So at this point, this is all very clear. At this point, it's very clear that numerous federal crimes have been committed. Federal law prohibits providing material support to terror organizations. Here we have smoking gun proof that they were providing support to Al-Qaeda, which eventually morphed into what they wanted, an Islamic principality over in eastern Syria. So somebody ought to be prosecuted for this. Of course, we'll need a special prosecutor because the Obama administration's attorney general, we know, after the Clinton fiasco, is not really a reliable person in terms of seeking justice, especially when well-connected Obama and Hillary cronies are involved. So we do have a very serious problem. And, in fairness, this is not a new problem to the Obama administration. Washington, D.C. and Moscow and, other capitals have long been supporting and stirring up Islamic terrorism. If you go back to the 70s and the early 80s, you had Washington, D.C. and the CIA and the ISI from Pakistan stirring up the Al-Qaeda and the Mujahideen in Afghanistan. Before that, you had the Soviet Union trying to create a 1 billion man Islamic jihadist army to attack the United States and the Western world. So the strategy of using Islamic extremists as pawns, by globalists and communists and other criminals, this is a long-running thing. But what Obama and what Hillary have done with ISIS is inexcusable. It's beyond dispute. I mean, you really cannot argue with this at this point anymore. The guy who was in charge of the DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, did an interview with Al Jazeera, and he's like, they willfully gave aid to Al-Qaeda and these jihadists, and he said he told them not to do that and that it was a bad idea and whatever. But it's done. We know what happened. And so the American people need to really get involved here. They need to really press for serious accountability. It's not okay to pretend to be waging, this fake war on terror and then at the same time supplying jihadists in Libya, the Libyan Islamic Fighting Group, which was Al-Qaeda's branch in Libya, the Al-Nusra, the ISIS in Syria. This is not okay. This is absolute lawlessness. This is craziness, and somebody needs to be held accountable. So no matter what you think of Trump, his claim that Hillary and Obama were the co-founders of ISIS is not nearly as far-fetched as it sounded to the media. Thank you for watching, and please check out the New American. Read all our articles on this and more, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.